Welcome back, everyone, to the carbon flip. I am going to have to start growing my own food. It's not that I'm just starting. I'm at an all-time new level. I have always grown my own food, raised my own animals, and woo, I don't know what's going on in here. This is a new look for me. I guess that's because I fed them a bunch of stuff on top. And that must be all the frass or remains. These are European night crawlers. So, a real quick idea of what I'm doing here. These are going to be used to make the agriculture amendments. These are going to make vermicast, and then use the vermicast. Has a lot of good biology in it, and then we put it out on the fields. That biology helps those plants to assimilate and take in the nutrients. So it's not just like a passive diffusion across the root. So the plant doesn't like grow all these roots. Yes, they have root hairs and all that, but apparently they make a symbiotic relationship with the biology and the micro. Micro as a fungi under the soil. So we need to be increasing those numbers so that the plant can make it through drought-like conditions, actually reach or get the nutrients even though it's there in the soil. If it's not brought to them from the microbes, they're not going to get it. And apparently that's why all of our food has no nutrition in it. So mainly we're all malnutrition, we just don't know it. I don't believe that because I went through being sick when I was younger in my life and I've healed that. That is like so weird. I guess I'm just very unfamiliar what that is. There's still some food here, but I'm going to go ahead and turn that in, and maybe that's why in the future I should add. So they were fed on the 28th, but they were not turned. They were turned on the 20th. So I feel like at this point they really need to be turned. And I really need to add some stuff to absorb. Do you see how glossy the bottom of this bin is? I'm 99% sure there's going to be some spirochetes in that fluid. And so I want to get it a little more aerobic. Now, I've got plenty of these wood shavings in here, so I need to choose a different medium. I don't want to keep adding those chips because I believe that then doesn't break down nearly as fast. So what I'm going to do is, instead of just mixing there, I'm going to go ahead and put a base layer down. Cardboard would be an excellent choice, but I'm just not, like, I don't have a huge amount of extra. I wish that I had more. I mean, like an endless supply of those shavings, but I don't. And then I also do not have, I don't want to use all my leaves that are like super ground up, because those are I feel like going to get pretty compacted. So here's what I'm going to go with. These are leaves that I picked up alongside of the road in town. Like, people rake them out of their yard and then put them in those brown bags, set them on the side of the curb, and then it's so amazing. You can just go and pick them up. So, what I'm going to do is I'll just put this, doing a good enough turn. We've got some babies right there, a young one, and then this way, way too wet. Man, I'll tell you what, guys, the learning curve on these things, I don't think I'll ever be happy. Gosh, it's so stuck together that basically it's like a mud. Yeah, I'll admit that. I'm looking to see, is that guy, so that guy, he's sick or something. Or it's a fragment, I don't know. Is it too wet? Do they die when it's too wet? Do they die when it's not aerobic enough? Does that cause some anaerobic conditions? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, you guys probably know. I'm just guessing. But really struggling with finding some super good amendments that can dry this out. I guess I'm going to go with the cocoa core. I guess I'll go with some dry cocoa core. And then just mix it in on a layer here, which they can go ahead and, I mean, I don't want them to get too awful dried out either. But because I'm just learning, I feel like I almost have to have those. So here it is. Oh, I swore that I got some out. And let's see in this bucket. Got it ready, kind of, sort of. Broke some off, see? Okay, so how about this? We're just going to dry out some of that moisture here now. This is probably going to need done in every single one of those tubs because I did give them water. And obviously, I knew that it was possible I had given them too much. Sure enough, I did. So, I'm hoping that, you know, giving them that aerobic base layer is going to help them out. And then giving them the super dry cocoa core layer will help them out again. Pull some of that moisture out. I mean, I don't like using the peat because I feel like what that did was makes a very compactable bedding, like mush together, compactable. And I'm wanting something, I'm going to find this perfect bedding recipe that helps them to open up a lot better. Now, maybe I do have some coffee grounds. Now, that's leaking water. Let me, somewhere, right here. That's my, oh, I'll tell you what. Okay, I'm going to get a scoop of coffee grounds as soon as I find my tub that's full of coffee grounds. It's a gray colored. Here it is. Is some no, that's pollen. Okay, it's in my metal trash can. Tell you what, folks, the organization that you need for this is tricky. So, here, these are very dry. Hoping I'm not adding so much that they start heating up. But I'm putting it on there. We'll see what happens, right? I want to add a little bit of barn lime, probably. I don't know how much to add with that coffee ground. I should be checking the, too much. pH, probably, of this soil. But that would require a ton of research and investigation. And at the moment, you know, everybody's so darn busy. I mean, like, you just gotta jump in. And I realize that could be a complete waste of time, money, energy. But what I find is if I don't, it's just not gonna get done. So my eggshells, give them some eggshells too. More grit. And I store it here in the cat litter box. And I need to probably make some more. It's a lot. I'm adding most likely way too much. So that layer will help reduce. I'm gonna just sort of turn this a little bit. I like the little fat dudes. I really do. I think their size is cool. There's cocoons, spring cocoons, too. You name it. Here. There's some babies in here. But, oh my, super wet. Super wet. This is a bad, bad deal. And I could tell just by the way I picked it up off the shelf. It's super heavy, so there's a little duker. So now I'll come up with a good plan for beating this, what I call catabolism. Catabolism is, it creates water when the materials, the food is broken down. So I'm sure that was a lot of it because I did give them a really good feeding. And I'm sure they broke that down. So I didn't put a base layer, which I see a lot of people do. So that's a learning step for me. We'll say the bin maybe smells a little bit like an animal feed lot. Oh, why? I mean, I guess this is all part of it. I don't want to hide the bad. There's cute little babies in here, so let's be on the positive there. Hopefully none of these will detach and break into different pieces because they're scared now that I've turned their bin, but I feel like it was really necessary. It's aerobic again now, so that will help defeat the anaerobic bacteria that are probably really thriving and starting to take over the bin. And so what we did was basically we just reduced their numbers and the good microbes can start coming back. I'm not saying good, it's the balance that we want, okay, when we are after that NH4. So the bad guys that we call the bad guys, they're simply there, and they're going to be turning that in nitrogen, okay, so nitrogen in the atmosphere into, and they'll be turning that into NH3, and I want it in NH4 form, so I want the aerobic bacteria doing that. So I'm going to feed them. I want to use a base layer, so I will try. I mean, I just, as much cocoa coir as you end up using, then I'm trying to cut my costs and then figure out what my best, the bottom may be that I could use to soak up besides cardboard. I think the main way to use that cardboard is you gotta shred it. Otherwise I feel like it does. I mean, they do like getting in there and laying cocoons in it, but it wants to stick into big clumps too. So that's sort of some questionable areas for your anaerobic bacteria again. Now, I could just be fighting an endless battle. I agree. I understand that. It's just that my mind wants to know, what's going on here. Is that happening? Do I need to watch for that? Is there a difference? If there is, then sure enough, I'm going to want to do it. Okay, so that would be my base. Now I'm going to do a feeding in this bin. So I'll feed them on that base. And hopefully, as all this food breaks down, that is going to absorb that moisture enough and I'll tell you what I would like to do, and that is to, maybe I'll put some dry leaves. I'd like to leave that cover off so that we could remove some moisture, but then I don't think they're going to want to come up on top here for eating. So there you go. That's what I did to tackle this bin. I will add a few more super dry leaves on the top, and then that way as the moisture is evaporating on the top of the bin, at least these leaves will become more moist, and hopefully by that time we're going to have enough cocoons in here and baby worms in there, because in all these wet conditions that seems to be good conditions for breeding, then we will be able to split these into a nursery bin or a grower bin. Okay, well, that video was not much fun. It just seemed traumatic every which way I went. And I suppose that's what you got to be ready for when you are farming these worms. You got to be ready for the unexpected. And where to store all your stuff that you need, because you want it somewhere where it's very convenient to reach, grab, use. And so right now I haven't got that process all the way figured out, but we're working on it. We're working on it. So far I haven't quit yet. That's the bonus. Okay, we'll get this tub back on the top shelf. We are working on tower number 2 today. We want to get them all fed, and then it'll be done. So, see, I've already lost my... I think today's the 9th. Oh. They're super wet, so I do not need to change that bead. My numbers are about the same. Very low castings, cocoons, sort of low, food, fresh. So I don't need to change any of those yet. We'll get this baby up there. I'll bring down the next one if you want to stick around. It'll be exciting to see what's in this one. I can already tell. Oh my gosh, it is super heavy. So that's going to be the trick, figuring out moisture. So there's a dead one right here on top. It's curled up and tied in a knot. So I'm sure moisture was not it wasn't too dry. It's got plenty of moisture here. But again, we have this super, what looks like wet layer on top where all that food. Oh, he looks like he got protein poisoning. So maybe there was a piece of bread there that, oh, you know what that is? It's moving around. So is that protein poisoning, or did he just get scared last time I was in here digging around and he has detached in several places? Unbelievable. I have not sat down and done hours and hours and hours worth of research. There's plenty of avocado there for them. So this is very perplexing. This was actually my first feeding since I've gotten the new food source. So this is just extremely wet, heavy, thick bedding. I'm sure it's just the fact that the moisture level is just atrocious here. So once again, I don't know how to keep this. I'm just thinking, obviously I'm going to have to remove those tops to help get them dried out better. I'm trying to see if I got a lot of cocoons in here, and I'm going to say I'm just not seeing tremendous amount, and maybe that's just because this is so wet. They're having a hard time traveling through it. I guess I'm gonna go ahead. What did I do with my extra bin? I'm gonna go ahead and shift them over to a new bin. We will put, I suppose, more leaves in the bottom.